ahead and get started. We'll call the meeting to order, 10:58 a.m. And we're going to start with a prayer from Pastor Lori.
Well, let's pray. Loving God, we give you thanks today for the work of your church, for the mission and the ministry you call us to, and particularly today, we celebrate the mission and ministry of Cross Lutheran Church, all the work that's been done and will be done in the days ahead. Give us the strength we need, the gifts that we feel called to share, and to celebrate all that's being done and will be done in the future. And we pray it all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you, Lori. So we're going to move on to our board reports, and first is the Board of Church Properties. And I'm assuming that is Carol, and I don't know where
Here she comes. Here she comes.
Are you doing church properties?
I certainly can.
Do I have to talk on the other side of the microphone?
Can you hear me on both sides now?
Thumbs up.
Thumbs up? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Once again, the Board of Church Properties takes and maintains our building and our properties and does an excellent job at that. Pat Kagan was the director. He's had to resign due to health problems. And so that position is going to be a different election this year. We maintain our relationships with Seventh Day and with Pro Mesa. Pro Mesa just added coming to and using the building every other Friday. So we're very glad that we're able to provide both of those congregations with a place to worship and educate and everything that they do a lot of music, I know. The new shed was constructed this past year and houses the lawnmowers, so the thanks in the report are there for those that worked on that. We had some issues with the boiler operating properly this past fall, so Scott Nelson and Daryl Anderson spent many hours making sure that we now have heat in the building, and as you can tell by my red face, it's plenty warm in here. The rain garden suffered this past year because of all the construction on Frost Avenue, and so the garden club decided we're not even going to try to do anything with it. It's futile to try and keep up with all the mess that's going on there. But it was taken care of on a very wet October day by people that are mentioned in the report as well. The retaining wall got knocked over at some point in time during the construction, and Ray Volkers, I don't see that Ray stayed. He spent a whole day here by putting it back together. So it still needs to have some finishing work done, but Ray really worked hard that day. Pastor Lori had issues with the computer that's been in the office since 2008, I believe. And so it was decided that we should buy new computers for both Pastor Lori's office as well as my computer, because the 2007 Windows operating system is no longer supported, and so Pastor Lori's computer has been replaced. It was too busy of a time for me to even think about replacing a computer, so mine still has to be done. And neither Dave or Doug, by the way. I'm getting lots of problems going on now, so now would be a good time. After this meeting is great. So Pat wanted to personally thank all of the board members who have faithfully taken care of our property. And this meeting sees the completion of the terms for Scott and Rich Nielsen, and we're very thankful for their dedicated service. Any questions for the Board of Church Properties in absentia? Yes, Sharon.
I have a question about the connection with the churches that rent and the messes they leave in the sanctuary often? Like they're dirty cleaning and toys and stuff? How does that get handled?
When I learn about it, I send out emails to both of those congregations asking them to please, police themselves afterwards. If we're needing to pick up after them, I guess, okay, so I'm gonna be the head of the Board of Church Properties probably after this meeting. We can raise their rent. I mean, if it's causing more cleaning here, then we need to take appropriate steps to make sure they clean up after themselves, or that
Hopkins, our custodian. Oh, I lost it all. I didn't think I did anything.
Do you tell them why?
There we go. Sorry.
I'll turn it so it's not underneath my fingers. Lou Hopkins, our custodian, if we need to have him here more often, then we will, increase their rate so that he gets compensated for that time.
And then reinforce that they shouldn't eat in there, because there's a lot of times candy wrappers and...
Yeah. Used plates and whatnot in the recycling bin. I send out very many emails to them. That's the best way for me to contact them, so unfortunately.
And we're grateful they're here. Amen.
Yes, we are grateful that we're here, because that is
I didn't punch it.
That hot air.
Maybe it's
because I'm so warm. That is a significant portion of our income comes from both of those congregations. Peter?
Yeah, wouldn't it be appropriate to have regular meetings between their leaders and our leaders, in Christian fellowship, to not to threaten them with rent raising, but to work things out? I mean, it's in an actual meeting.
That is a very good suggestion. Peter's suggestion, if you could hear him, was to have regular meetings between their leadership and our leadership. So that's an excellent suggestion. And we'll do it.
I'm not touching anything.
Are there batteries somewhere?
Would it be the battery that keeps kicking it off? You know what?
I need to do the Board of Ed report, but I could get you.
Well, I can go up and get that.
The battery is a church property.
Battery.
Office supply. Okay, next I'm gonna pass this on to Amy for the Board of Education.
You just have to talk loud if it goes up.
Thank you. Board of Ed report is on page 6. I won't go through it all. We continue to wonder the best way that we can have intergenerational summer education in a way that is life-giving for us and possibly our community. So we've had our God's Promise gatherings after it was clear to us that Vacation Bible School wasn't the answer for us. We had tried Vacation Bible School in several ways throughout the past several years. So we continue to talk about what we can do in the summer that would be helpful and good for all of us to gather, to share Bible stories, to be educated, to have fun together. So we're continuing to plan for this summer, to figure out what we're going to do. There'll be something. Not sure exactly what, but we're talking. We're reminded what a gift it is to have a pastor who can teach. And so, for all the education we've had all these years, thank you, Lori, for continuing to teach and to be a leader in our Sunday education and in our Christian education. It's important to us, and we'll continue to have that on the top of our priorities for a continued pastor, somebody who can come and teach and to continue to dig us deeper into Scripture. We know education is changing. We know families aren't able to be here like they were even 5 years ago. And so what does it mean for us to have education changing? We're trying to be in conversation with families to talk about what would be life-giving for you as a family and how can we have education. It may look different and new in the coming years. We don't know what it's going to look like, but we know that our Sunday mornings are getting smaller, and small is not bad. Small is not bad. When we are teaching God's people, there are some kids and families that love one-on-one and 1 to 2 kids in a classroom. Some families appreciate that. So it's not bad, but if there are more children who are part of our congregation and need education, we need to figure out how we can reach families. So we're talking with families about what that means. And so that conversation will continue as well. There's a lot that we need to consider and think about, and your part in that conversation is really important too. So as we talk, please share your thoughts. It's never going to be like it was. We know that. But we've had strong education, and we don't want that to change. And we need to keep teaching the Bible, and we need to keep sharing Christian fellowship. And one of the greatest gifts of congregation is the generation. And so we need to keep figuring out how we can have our generations gather. So that's our Board of Ed. It's changing, it's exciting, it's good conversations. It can sometimes feel a little hairy, but I think the devil wants us to despair, and I don't think we need to despair. Wherever there's death, there's resurrection, and something's going to happen. So we'll just keep talking. Thank you. Resurrection! So we give thanks and we pray for the conversations that need to happen, that they would be faithful, and we wonder together. I do need to say thank you to Diana Swanson, who's been a faithful leader on this board. Who now, thank you. She's amazing. So she is now going to be our official consultant, because she's switching boards, but I will not do this job without her being available. So, any questions for the Board of Ed? No questions? You're not wondering anything?
You did a great job.
Well, thanks.
Thank you, Amy. And now I'm going to pass it over to Dwayne for the Board of Lay Ministry.
Thank you. You can read our report on the Prosper. I want to acknowledge the Board of Lay Ministry itself. Sherry Batterman, Dave Olson, Scott Patterson, Paul Schaefer, and Justin, who was on the board through November and had leave to lend his talents to the Board of Stewardship. Also others who assisted the Board of Lay Ministry: Jamie, Katie Erickson, Jim Border, and Wendy Knudsen, helping out with the lay ministry duties. I want to acknowledge our staff, pastors Lori Weiss and Amy Oslin, church secretary Carol Hastings, music director Emily Turgestead, and our organist Chelsea Chris. Thank you all. Finally, I want to say a special thank you to Corrine Johnson, who led the board through September, and we sure miss you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwayne, and thanks for taking over the board. Next is Board of Youth. That'll be Katie.
All right, our report is on page 15, if you'd like to look at it. Board of Youth, we kind of continued on this year. I'm really grateful to Pastor Lori to be willing to jump in and go on with us on a trip. Just like, barely 2 months into her tenure here, and we had a great trip this summer to South Dakota. I think the kids learned a lot. It was a service trip. Those of you that were here for our shareholders dinner, and you heard all about it. So we try to switch off between a service trip and a fun trip every other year. So this summer, we will be going to Pastor Lori's daughter's cabin for a week. We'll be doing a Bible study, we'll be doing some recreation and some things that are yet to be planned early. But we are going to sell shares once again all of February. Every Sunday in February, we'll be selling shares after church. And we'll have a dinner again and send you postcards like always. We love that you continue to support this fundraiser. It's the best idea we ever had, I think, as a board, to do this fundraiser this way and have that dinner together. even though he's not here, I'd like to thank Joel Lund for being on our board for 6 years. He's done now, but don't worry, he's agreed to cook the dinner once again. So if you were worried about that, he's agreed to be our chef once again. So we're very excited about that. So I will also, potentially, if the ballot goes the way it says, be leaving the board this year, but I will be going on the summer trip and be advising Diana. I'm so excited that she's taking over. She and I, we weren't able to go to Onamia. It says we were in the, we weren't able to go to Onamia because of weather, but Diana and I spent the evening instead with our youth at my house. We actually had more kids than if we had gone to Onamia, so that was kind of cool. And it was great. So I'm so excited for her to take over and lead our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Next, we're gonna have the report for the Altar Guild.
And that's you can see my report on page 17 in the Cross Courier, and I've listed all the dedicated workers that we've had for altar care, and so I'd like to thank them very, very much. Also, thanks to the Board of Lay Ministry, they continue to take care of getting the altar ready on Sunday mornings. Altar Guild, just as a reminder, you're still in charge of the flowers. But the Board of Lay Ministry uncovers the altar along with their duties of filling communion cups. And we do appreciate that because it's hard to get in on Saturdays to do that with the other church here. Howard, we thank Howard Van Cleaver for keeping the oil in the candles. That's a huge job too. It doesn't have to be done every week, but you have to keep tabs on it. So thanks to Howard for that. Going forward, I hope you all had a chance to see the article in the Cross Current that we're going to try something new. And we're going to go to compostable communion cups. And maybe you haven't gotten your cross currents yet. I don't know. Oh, okay. So, pay attention to your cross currents. There's an article in there. We are going to try using compostable communion cups. We have such a good group that takes care of our altar every Sunday. But it means that they get into coffee, probably not at all, and oftentimes are late for Bible class. Having the compostable cups will enable them to get their duties done a little bit quicker. They're not recyclable, they're compostable, so they're better for the environment than recyclable. So we'll see. We're going to give it a try. They haven't come in yet. They're very popular, so it takes a while to get them in. But we will start using them when they come in. And so we'll give it a try. I don't know if it'll be a long-term, a permanent thing, but it's worth giving it a try. So, yes? What's the added cost? Well, that I don't know. I'm willing to pay for it out of my own pocket. I think I don't know what the added cost is.
Sherry, did you know?
Yes, for a year, it costs like $150 or something.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna guess, Sherry.
No, for 2,000. So that would cover a whole year. So it's
definitely.
2,000 cups for like $150. They're made of maybe $15 more than the recyclables. We decided we didn't want to do the recyclables until we have trouble with the plastic.
So there's an article in the Cross Current. You can get that.
There's a question.
Oh,
yeah. On the compostable cups, are these the kind that you can do in your own backyard, or are they the sort of thing that you take into a kind of compost center?
I believe that we have, you could do it either way, you know.
Well, it depends. It may be made from corn.
Yeah.
But when they make the plastic from the corn, the actual material, it doesn't break down in the home, at least a lazy man's home compost, which doesn't get hot enough.
Gotcha.
We would be bringing them over to the Maplewood compost bin. You know, we have a green bucket like the one Cheryl Border brought to us, and they'd be going to their compost.
So that's fine.
Yes.
She's a trained
Not
chemist.
just somebody.
It's a PLA, polylactic acid.
Right, which is
Yes.
actually a polyester, but.
Okay, so we're not gonna have them here, we're gonna send them to the compost.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes,
If
Carolyn?
you convert that alcohol.
I'm just waiting for Dan's comments to finish. As a member of the Altar Guild, can we request the lay ministers, like when I'm on Altar Guild, to use the stainless steel, whatever, our silver, thank you, our silver cups?
Good question, but we're not going to do that. They'll be put away. If we're gonna make this change and give it a try, we're gonna do it totally.
So why?
Yeah.
Why can't we, if the lay ministers are okay, to say this month we're using silver?
Because I don't think it should be the responsibility of the lay ministers to remember which altar person doesn't want to use the compostable cups.
The lay ministry made a decision as a board to move forward with this, as kind of overseeing the worship, to give it a try and then reevaluate on whether we were gonna go forward with it or go back to the cups. And so at this point, we're trying it and then looking at it.
What's wrong with silver? I'm confused.
Well, they have to wash and dry every single cup on the communion tray, and it
Okay.
takes a long time, so they
Fair
don't
enough.
get into coffee hour or any of that, because they're in the back cleaning.
Fair enough.
So it's that difficult for me to go to put a sign in the back of the church and say, please use the silver cups this month? I mean, is it really that much of a problem?
They're gonna be packed away, so they aren't even.
Why do they have to be packed away?
But they're.
I mean, I know I'm causing dissension here, and people just want to do it the other way, but why not? Why is it so difficult to do that if we've been doing that forever? I mean, is it just that there are enough people on the board that say this is the way it's going to be, and I can make my comments, but it doesn't change? I'm just asking why.
Why do you not want to use the compostable? Isn't that more your style than using the silver?
No, actually.
To me, that's what it would sound like we're trying to go to your way of thinking and...
Rather than the recyclable.
Well, I appreciate the compostable, I'm just saying that, just give me a minute, Dan. I'm just saying that, I appreciate that we're doing compostable versus recycling. I'm just saying we already have that. I think it's even more environmentally, and I understand the time issue and everything. I don't have anything against people wanting to use the compostable. I just wanted to have the option to be able to do the other.
Because she doesn't have the, you're saying you don't have the time constraint.
Excuse me. Dwayne can probably speak to this better than anyone. He's sent the silver cups out for resilvering, and we have a fair amount of money tied up in that. Going to compostable is fine, and saving those silver cups is fine, but we don't really need to use them. They do get damaged, the silver ones, and we've spent a fair amount of money on that. So I'm glad that the board has made that decision, and let's go forward.
I went first.
I did coffee today, and I can attest that we need standardized procedures for things. people get sick, they can't be here, if there's something different on a certain time or something, like today, I couldn't even find the keys to the pantry because I'm not here in the summer. So, if you want people to volunteer, it can't be complex. Because I'm fairly intelligent, but I can't handle it.
That's a good point, Linda.
Carolyn, we will still be using the trades.
That's fine, I just wanted to know the reasoning behind it, and I know I'm the thorn, and I'm just asking questions, and I think Linda's comment does make sense, where it's just...
Well, and we also talked about, like, just doing it for a couple months and then going back to the board, getting people's feedback about what do you think about this. I mean, if it takes away from our, experience or whatever, I mean, we can always go back if it really doesn't seem like it's a good fit with us. I mean, so, I think as we go forward and try this, to give your feedback to our lay ministry board members during the couple months, and then it'll be revisited. And I think the plan was always to also use those silver ones, like on special, like on Christmas and stuff like that, that will be, I think we had talked about that at the board, about using that Easter and stuff like that for the, when we, got a lot more to serve.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. This is the annual meeting, is it not? I mean, I can't see that because the board has decided something that this annual meeting can't override it. I mean, that's...
Correct.
I
think it was just the decision that, that was coming up. Right.
But I don't think we have the authority.
Right. So with that, we'll probably move forward, read the article, feedback to lay ministry on that. And if anyone wants to volunteer for Altar Guild, there's always spots available to help clean up and, yes.
Can you say how much it costs to have a cup replaced or fixed?
Number?
It was close to 10 years ago when I took about, what it was, 25 or so up there. They were $25 a piece. I don't know, it came up to a little over $1,000.
Yeah, it was over $1,000.
But then, yeah, they cleaned out and re-silvered the inside of the worst ones.
And there's plenty that could probably stand to be done again.
They do get damaged from the wine.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Okay, next, it looks like United Sisters. That must be Sherry.
Oh, good. I'm short and sweet, and I'm not going to come up front. I'm going to make you all turn your heads. The United Sisters, still
Into
ask...
the microphone, please.
We still ask that you sign up for coffee. We do like to have our coffee after a church. It's nice to have time to sit and talk to people, and so I'll ask you to keep signing up. When I went and made the schedule, lots of people showed up to serve coffee. So this way, people are saying, okay, I'm free that day, I can sign up. Want to thank Diana Border and Sylvia Graham for doing soup suppers last year. Mary Batney and...
I was on vacation.
You were... So that's one error, okay, in here. There's a second error. But thank you for the soup suppers. We do appreciate the soup suppers.
And the sheets are up.
We have a good turnout for soup suppers. So let's hope that works out this year. We had a great farewell celebration for Pastor Bob and Michelle when they left. We served about 170 people. And we actually ran out of food. That was really a nice time. We missed them. The other thing is that for funeral lunches, we did not serve a lunch to the Roger Kiefer family. So that's an error in here also. But people are willing to help with the funeral lunches. We have we got 2 on the schedule now.
And, you know, you do the best you can with those, but, they're always appreciated. Everyone appreciates those lunches. So, we always have good turnout.
There's another, the Ericksons set up and did the stuff for the farewell dinner. So you know, right?
There you go.
The Ericksons?
Yes.
Yes, that was their volunteering, so thank you.
Questions? Is there questions for Sherry before she runs back to her table?
It seems to me with the, serving coffee, I like the idea of creating a list, and if your name's on there, I think there's a chance we might see some people that might not regularly show up.
That's how we used to do it.
I like that.
And then they wouldn't show up, and then people had to scramble.
What about calling those people and asking them if there's a...
Well, everybody got a call. Carol called everybody the week before their coffee. They were on to confirm they were coming.
Right. Well, I'm just thinking, if there were people that you know showed up, they were assigned, but they're not signing up, maybe someone could call them and say, could you serve this Sunday or this Sunday? We would like to have some help. I mean, sometimes people are asked, they do it. If we know who those people were.
I was just gonna say, if you have any ideas for me, I'd be willing to call people to say, would you come and serve, coffee?
I mean, I don't think it needs to take an hour every month to do it, but just once in a while, if there's someone you think of, you know.
Right. So if you think of somebody, let me know. I'd be happy to see that they get called.
Based on the stuff that they bring in, and I think we should
Call them more often.
I like those little meals.
Yeah, we like the people who serve coffee and make all those homemade goodies.
Not required.
Okay, next is the Board of Stewardship.
Okay. Do you want to have the outreach after that? Do you want to have time for the outreach for that?
I think we can include it in there.
I'd like.
I would do the board report, and then ideas for the community thing, and then let's go to the budget.
So the board report for the Board of Stewardship, not a whole lot in here other than to... Sorry, I thought something else was wrong. Here we go. So, Board of Stewardship is in charge of two main functions, that is outreach and then budgeting. So, I generally take care of budget, and then Sylvia is one of the main people to take care of outreach. If you're okay talking a little bit about outreach, Sylvia, or you don't have to. All right, we'll talk about that in a little bit. Quite honestly, I forgot I was going to talk about this. I'm ready to talk about budget, but one of the main things I'll be talking about at the end of budget is the Cross Lutheran Church Fund Committee and where that is going. That was established in April. On page, if you have questions about it, on page 9 is the breakdown of these bullet points that describe what the major function of that is. So that is all I really have to say about Board of Stewardship. As far as community outreach is concerned, if you go to page 14, you can see all of the great things that Cross is doing, that Cross has the opportunity to do in our community. Specifically, our work at John Glenn with the launching pad and community market. Those outreaches are, as I said, a little bit transitioning in as far as trying to the school trying to figure out exactly what works best. So that's good, but it does always create this challenge of what are they doing? Well, we're trying this month or these couple months. But if you read the report right there, you can find out about our outreach at John Glenn. And then other areas of outreach as well. Tutoring, library office help, Mass Carnival, looking forward to that. That's March, right?
March.
We'll be asking for volunteers in Mass Carnival. It's always awesome. I always lose my voice. And then, except for that one year, I forgot.
And then holiday gifts for families in need, that is the latest Christmas gifts that all of you were generous in helping purchase. So that, there's still another page, Joseph's coat. We got some numbers on, numbers on what went to Joseph's coat this year. And then our work at the funeral, the food shelf and the family service center as well. Does anyone have any questions about community outreach? All right, so that's board stewardship, that is community outreach.
Well, I think we should say a special thank you to Sylvia and to the Board of Stewardship. And a special thank you for Justin for jumping from lay ministry back to the Board of Stewardship to lead our budget, so that's fun.
Thank you. I've been asked not to. Point out people, but thank you for,
we can point out people, this is where they get their kudos,
I was
whether
trying
they
to
like
say
it or not. Okay, so we can move on to the budget. And the treasurer's report.
I can kind of discuss what the treasurer would have to say. I am not the treasurer, and there really isn't a whole lot to say one way as far as one way or the other that won't be discussed in the budget.
We want one late time.
Can everyone see this? Because I'm going to be referencing this a lot.
Page 10.
Page
It's
10.
also on your book, yeah.
So we're starting at page 10. We're going to get into some numbers between 2019 and 2020. So bear with me. But there's some really important things for you to see, and it's not just did we have a good year or not bad. But so budget is income and expense. Everyone knows that, but just to start at the same page, as far as income, that's what I'm going to talk about. Starting on the top chart on page 10. Our budget for 2019 for weekly offerings. The weekly money that comes in for 2019 estimate is $135,000. I'm going to be rounding, by the way. What we actually pulled in was $137,000. That's good news. That is more. So, obviously. But I'm going to offer a little bit of context here as well. One thing is, we also had budgeted to do a 53rd Sunday. By the time I took over in October, I could tell that we were going to make our budget, and it hadn't been done yet. And on top of that, November starts and Thanksgiving happens, and Advent happens, and there just wasn't going to be a good Sunday to fit in a 53rd Sunday, and we didn't need to ask for the money, so we didn't do a 53rd Sunday, even though we had budgeted. Again, good news. Loose cash in place, off by $4, by $30 or so. So that's a good estimate. The reason I'm going through this by number is because I want you to follow me to page 11, keeping in mind 146,000 and 143,000. That is our weekly contributions. If you could go to the top chart on page 11, we get the total operating income. This top line is weekly contributions, 146, 143. On top of that, we have dedicated funds release. That's basically money that we can use from savings account to our dedicated funds is another way to say savings account. And we had budgeted to spend $15,000, ended up only spending $14,000. And then other income, that's rent from the other churches that Pastor Amy's work with chaplaincy. That brought in, was estimated to bring in $87,000, brought in $92,000. So, all in all, total income, we came in about $1,000 ahead. For $250,000, being $1,000 off is, I think, pretty good budgeting. So going into 2018 was a good budget. Tammy?
So,
your line that says weekly contributions. That's what we get in the plate. Some of that is pledged and some of that is not, right? That's why that estimate is a guess.
Exactly.
Okay.
Carol, on the income, and I'll talk a little bit about this when I talk about the 2020 budget. The income is a guess that Carol and I, and specifically Carol, does a lot of work to keep track of what she thinks the non-pledged income is. We have pledge cards. That is just gift cards, add them up. But there are people who don't pledge, and that is up to them. And yeah, but those numbers feed into the weekly contributions.
So that's why that makes this harder. It's not just that we always know. Because we do get a lot of income in the place that was not pledged.
Right. I would say, well, anywhere from $10,000 to $40,000 traditionally. Yep. So that is income for 2019. Very good news. And expense as well. The way we run expenses at Cross Lutheran Church is by board. So we have all the boards that we're discussing here this morning. Lay ministry, church properties, education, youth ministry, and stewardship. Those are basically cost centers for expense. And lay ministry has the bulk of that work because payroll is done through lay ministry. And I've always thought about doing a chart for this, but you can see. Lay ministry has, for the 2019, $123,000, we're plus 68,000 because they were making, basically a guess about what the interim pastor's, salary was gonna be. And the property is the second, with $44,000. So, on the expense side, if you follow the 2019 estimate and 2019 actual down to total expenses, $251,000 was what we were estimating, and we came in significantly under that, $236,000. So, on income, fairly good news. On expense, really good news, which leads to, you got actual 2019 coming down here, over or short. We surpassed our budget by $13,187. That's good news. That's really, really good. Everything is always doom and gloom when I come up here, or that's what I'm used to, but that is very good news. But I don't have just good news, and I don't want to knock people down, but I do want to be clear about this. Because if you look at these numbers going into 2020, you can see certain things. You can see some less people. So if you could go with me to page 10 again, back up to page 10. What I'm talking about, when I start talking about 2020, I'm going to start here on the second chart. We got estimate for 2020. That's what we're going to start with. Total number of giving units for 2019, we had 155, 138 for 2020. When we talk about giving units, we talk about that's a family or an individual. That is a box of envelopes that we're sending out. So that is, we are all giving units. Sorry for the terminology, but when you're talking about individuals versus families, it's important to make sure that we are being clear about what we're talking about. So, less people. Additionally, number of people who pledged, that's pledge cards that we all send in. 2019 actual was 51, and we got 6 less cards. For more than 6. Yeah. We had less. And that's what I want to talk about when we talk about activities in the church. We can actually see real numbers for that. But, go ahead, Peter.
Is this actually, we're on page 10?
Page 10, the second column, or the second chart.
Got it. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for asking. I want to be clear as possible, so if anyone has a question about where we're at, please speak up. Again, though, this is not all doom and gloom, and the reason I say that is total amount of pledges right here. That's the pledge cards add up. That's all that is. And if you'll notice, that it's roughly the same as what we got pledged in 2019. That means we have less people, but the pledge amount is remaining the same. So it's not only that people are leaving, is that we have new people coming in who value our church, who are playing an important role. That means that the people who have been existing for a while, who have the means to, have increased their pledge as well. This number maintaining with less people is news for celebration, even more so, as far as I'm concerned, than coming out of 2019 with a surplus. So with that, I'd like to talk about 2020. Thanks for bearing with me. I think I'm going all right. I don't want to take up too much time, but as Tammy pointed out, weekly offerings up here, top chart of page 10. We're going to do 2020 now. Estimate means our budget.
Could I ask, maybe everybody else knows the answer to this, but the pledge envelopes come in two colors. One for capital expenses, capital income, something like that, and the other for the general offering. Now, are these broken down? And so does the capital stuff all go to capitals, like the building of the shed and that kind of?
So the question was, what is the capital improvement fund? When I talked about, can I get to that in a second?
Sure.
Because I'll point out exactly what we're talking about when we start talking about dedicated funds. Because that's a really good question, and it's one of those things that when you've been here for a long time, or you've been here for a little while, you just assume everyone knows and keep your asking. It's a very good thing to point out. But we'll get to that. Yes, Dave?
Can you blow that up just a little bit, Justin? It's easier to follow there on the bottom there. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's much better. Thanks, Dave. So as Tammy pointed out, the weekly offerings figure is a challenge. I talked about 114,000 right here. That's the pledges. 132,000 is the pledges with our estimate of non-pledge giving. That estimate, I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty with that. If you have questions, we can talk about it afterwards. But Carol does a lot of work to sort of keep track of that, and has been, $1,000 off for the last couple of years, which is really hard to do. So more than $1,000 off, so that is appreciated. So our estimate for 2020 is $132,000. Not going to planning not to do a 53rd Sunday right now, and $5,000 in place, leading to $137,000 in weekly offerings. That's our estimate. If you go with me, or do the same thing again. So go to page 11, top chart. 2020, 137 from before. If you're not used to looking at figures, the parentheses means a negative number. I'll come back to this. $5,262 from dedicated funds. Just set that aside for a second. And we're estimating $89,000 for other income, leading to $222,330 for total income. That is our estimate of income. Down on expenses, you can see what we actually made and what we are estimating for 2020. You'll see these two figures, they need to be added together to be compared to that. And again, that's the ministry's estimates for an interim pastor salary. And then estimates for, not a whole lot of changes here, so $46,000, education, youth ministry, stewardship. Leading to total expenses $235,000. And you'll see that this negative number right here, 13187, that's what we had from before. The way I like to explain that is if you're a kid going to a candy store, you only spend 8 cents, then you have $1. That 20 cents you can spend the next time you go to the candy store. We had a surplus from 2019. We are budgeting for that surplus in 2020 with the negative number there. So we're actually aiming to make less than zero, but we have surplus from this year. But going back up to that $52,000, your dedicated funds release. Again, dedicated funds mean our savings account. This is us planning after we approve this budget to put money back into dedicated funds because we have such a significant surplus from 2019.
Justin.
I've never seen that.
And you
have to remember that for 2014, we took out $14,000 in savings and put it over into our operating budget. With the $13,000 surplus, we did not need to take all of that money out. So that's why we're putting it back.
Right. Where that will be going, and here's where we're talking about our dedicated funds or our savings. If you go to, bear with me, if you go to page 13, you have our dedicated fund, the treasurer's report and dedicated funds. Later you asked about the capital improvement fund. That's that right there. And the reason that is a different envelope, the reason they ask for that in a different way is to maintain the church as it is. I believe what had happened was we kept on doing church improvements through the regular budget. And when you're talking about $40,000 for a roof or something like that, it was really hard to compact that into a yearly budget. So that's where the capital improvement fund comes from.
Isn't that overseen by the Board of Church Properties?
Yes.
Oversees the capital improvements so that they're maintaining the building and the grounds.
Does that answer your question?
And it's also a line that you can pledge. On the pledge card, there's two lines. One is for funds to go to the budget, and one is for funds to go to the capital improvement. So you're free to make separate donations to that fund as often as you want to. And that's on our pledge card for probably 10 years, maybe?
Longer than that, I think. Longer than that.
So the stuff on page 11 does not include that, am I correct?
So page
Correct.
no.
That is correct.
That is our general operating budget. That is how we get from year to year what we spend money on, basically payroll and the church maintenance, making the boiler run. Sorry? Getting the snowplow, electricity, all that kind of stuff. So
Your operating budget.
operating, versus the capital improvement fund, which will save money for large church phases. We still may have to do fundraising for a big church fix. We did a new roof, 4 years ago, something like that. And we did raise funds for that specifically, but that's as needed. So, yeah. Additionally, with dedicated funds, the $5,262 I was talking about putting back into savings. That will be going into undesignated requests. That's where it came from, and that's where it will go back to. The intention with that is to hold on to that at least through 2021 to see where we're at with our pastor, with our situation in 2021. There could be other things that we do with that coming out of this meeting next year. But we had a surplus coming out of 2019 into 2020, and we wanted to be able to draw on it with 2021. So that's ultimately the information I have about the budget. I have some other things I want to talk about with the the mission fund, but does anyone have any, we're going to be voting on this budget. So does anyone have any questions or concerns that you haven't raised already? Yes, Carolyn.
I know, I know that when one of our members died, they chose to put their bequest to the church into our operating budget at the time because our operating budget was really depleted. And that could have something to do with our surplus, or I don't know, I guess I just knew that and wasn't sure how much that affected numbers. Does that make sense?
Yes, and that makes absolute sense, and that can be seen.
Yeah, the other reason is that, Lori's not costing us as much as Bob did. I mean, to be frank, right?
So our
so
new
her
pastor
salary
won't
might-
cost as much as our retired pastor.
Exactly. So we
30 years
budgeted
of
less
practice.
for the next year, or for this year, with that in mind.
So we should hire a young one.
There's advantages to both. Okay, that's all I just, it's not a big question, it's just, I happen to know that, and other people don't know that if they're, if you're not on a board, you don't always know things that are going on, or, anyway. I'm still confident that that will work out as estimated.
Yes, I am too. But to your point about the dedicated funds release, estimate for 2019 and being a little bit shy of that, and then putting money back in there. You look at that compared to 2018, 2017, and 2016. It's significantly more. There are a number of reasons for that. One was it was Bob's last year, and there was a bunch of dedicated funds that had money left over in them, essentially, and that no one really had. I wasn't really brave enough to say, well, we should clear it out. Mark Lund and Bob and the PBC looked at those and put some significant thought into that last year. But the idea of the undesignated bequest, that's why that dedicated fund exists. People give at the end, or give for whatever reason. Putting it into a dedicated fund, we can, and we have, used that money to shore up a budget in a budget year. That's not what we would ought to do, that's not what we would like to do, and now we have the opportunity to not do that. The savings account, or the money going back in the savings account, this, I'd like to see, something done with that, rather than just, making our budget work. So to that, any other questions about the budget? Excellent. To that point about doing other things than just making the budget work. In April, Mark Lunch, my predecessor, and other staff and other volunteers put some significant time into creating the CLC fund for missions. The Community Market and Jet Backpack program, those were dedicated funds. We are in the process of draining down and starting to use this fund for missions. There will be a board or a board of volunteers who oversees this pot of money, and that is how we will be paying, mostly for outreach. If you go to page, sorry, me bounce around. 13. No, page 9, the bullet points on page 9. That is the goals for what this new fund for missions is. There hasn't been a lot of news about that, partly because Mark was transitioning out and I was transitioning in, but we will be, it's been made clear to me that there needs to be a little bit more news about that, and we will be putting more information out about what's coming in, what's coming out, and what's happening with the fund for missions. So I can tell you right now, March will be Food Share Month, and we will be doing a fundraising event for that, like we have in the past. That is at least a loose plan right now, and that money will ultimately go to be utilized through this fund for missions.
And just to clarify, that's, we did a fundraiser in March because those dollar amounts are doubled.
We'll be giving money to Merrick, who does the food sourcing, and they have doubling or matching at that point. So, yeah, that's what we do in March. But on top of that, it works well in the year. People are still around because summer hasn't happened, but Advent is over. It's before Lent. I don't know if it's before Lent, but it is not. It is not knee deep in Easter. So that's why it works. Any other questions?
Thank you, Justin. I know that's a lot of work going on, and I hate numbers, so yeah, let's give Justin one. Okay, so that's the proposed budget. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to.
Okay, so we've got a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Okay, any more discussion or questions on the budget? Not seeing any, we'll do a vote. All in favor of the proposed budget, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, the budget is passed. Now we're gonna move on, turn the lights back on.
Don't think we need the computer anymore, do we?
No. Okay, we're gonna move on to the election. I have a few changes, so I did send some pencils around if you wanna write these changes into the ballot.
People need pencils, I can,
No, I sent a bunch around.
Here, do you need something, Peter?
thank you.
Oh, there they are. If you need a pencil, raise your hand so you can write any changes. Okay, on the bottom of the first page, under the Board of Lay Ministry, Dan Erickson needs to be written in under the new nominees.
What is stewardship? Lay ministry.
Where? Lay Ministry.
Take it down.
And if you flip it over to the back page, under the Board of Youth Ministry, you can, under the new nominee Diana Swanson, and that'll be for the Director of Youth Ministry. Was that it? I think that was the changes that I had. Also, under the Executive Board, so it has myself and Diana up for re-election. We are really not up for re-election because our term expires, right now. And so the PPC had a discussion about our terms expiring. You'll see that we have under a new nominee, we have Katie Erickson to be the Assistant Director, and that's because Carol's gonna be the Board of Church Properties Director, because that was a position that was pretty critical right now with all of our activity in the building and stuff, to have that position filled. So Diana and I, there was discussion at the PPC about, gosh, we're kind of at a critical juncture right now, where we've got an interim pastor, we're kind of started our call process, and we've got a team going gun-ho that I can update on in a little bit. So the PPC came up with a motion to the ballot, and so I'll read the motion. And the PPC's recommendation was, we make a motion for a one-year extension to the terms of the Executive Board Director and Secretary for the purpose of completing the call. And it was really to recognize that this is a unique, we're kind of in a unique circumstance right now, being in the midst of a call process, and we haven't done this for 30 years. And so, it really, it's like I've got my fingers in the call process, kind of the planning with the boards, and just a lot of moving pieces that we've been working on. And so it's, you know, we kind of talked about that it would be really important, and because I was willing, and Diana was willing, that, you know, we would be willing to continue for another year if the motion is accepted. So, I don't know, do we?
Need a second, and then we
Yeah.
can...
So, can I get a second on that motion?
moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, and then discussion and questions.
It's just for this 1 year?
It's just for a 1 year, yep, and it's just...
One time, 1 year.
One second.
One time, 1 year, and I mean, we really, with our Met group, we are hoping to be interviewing for a new pastor by this summer. We even have one on board. We are trying to move that along very quickly, so that by the fall, we will have a new pastor in for Cross. Any questions?
Jamie, that 1 year is in there?
No, the motion is, we make a motion for a 1 year extension, it is in there, to the terms of the Executive Board Director and Secretary for the purpose of completing the call process.
And what happens if we haven't
called someone within that 1 year's time? Do we want to have it be a 1 year, or do we want to have it in?
So the discussion is, do we want to have the 1 year in there, or do we want to have it more until we get a pastor?
I like the 1 year, we can revisit it.
Can we just, yeah, exactly, can we just have a meeting next year?
I kind of like the 1 year too, because I don't really want to do
Well, hopefully it's not gonna take forever to call it.
No, I know. We are committed to seeing this through.
That's fine, it seemed like we talked about it and I couldn't remember.
Right. No questions? Well, with that, I'll call for a vote. So all in favor of this motion for the 1 year extension, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, so back to the ballot. So I've given you all the updates, and so Diana and I would be on there for a 1 year extension. So, can I get a motion to accept the ballot?
So moved.
And a second? Okay, and any discussion or questions on the ballot? Okay, not seeing any, I'll call for a, yes?
I have a question. I only see 2 names on the Board of Youth.
Yes.
Are we doing the whole ballot?
We are doing.
Not just
Right, not just
executive?
the-
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll do the Senate
The whole
stuff
thing.
at the end, so, yes.
Okay.
Yes, the board youth only has 2 members right now, and so, I mean, the plan with that, we did ask a lot of people. So, I mean, it'll be continued, just because there's only 2 people leading it,
Right.
doesn't mean that they won't be involving parents when they need it, or reaching out to other people in the congregation that love youth and wanna help out. So,
Thank you.
yeah. And they've always had a pretty slim board.
Yeah.
They had 3, so.
Now, if we pass this in, then will the prosecutor so give us the updates as to what actually happened at this meeting?
There are minutes being taken at this meeting, and so those minutes, are they available on the board, like in the
We'll know
Narthex?
at the end of the meeting.
Yeah, and we'll know at the end of the meeting here once we take a vote too, but yes, they are being captured by minutes, and you could get a copy of those from the office.
I've also put the meeting on the website in the past few years, so I
Yeah.
will plan to do that as well.
Yeah, so then the meeting will also be on the website. Okay, okay, not seeing any more questions, and then, call for a vote. All in favor of the board and officer election ballot, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, with that, that's passed, and now you can go to the back page. This is one of those opportunities where everybody gets to participate, and give input into some of the larger processes beyond our church with the synod and other churches. So the first one,
I volunteered for the first one.
okay, could you wait till I read it?
Oh, volunteering.
What is that?
I've already got your name down. Okay, so the first one's the conference assembly and toolkits for congregational leaders. It's on Saturday, February 22nd. There's even an agenda, so it looks like it goes to maybe 8 to almost 3.
No, not the whole thing. It can be done at 11, after the lunch, if people don't stay for the lunch.
But there's toolkit sessions.
That's extra. You don't have to
You don't
stay
have
though.
to.
That's not
Well,
the
but
concept.
I'd have to say, it's a good opportunity for people.
It's a good
that want
opportunity
to.
depending on what.
And you don't have, you can come at 11 o'clock to attend the workshop, as just a lay person. You don't have to be a delegate to.
Right,
it.
right.
So.
Yeah, so more people can go. So, I've got Sherry down, and this is one that doesn't need to be male, female, so we just.
I'll volunteer.
Do we send 4 people to this? Okay, so I've got Sharon and Sherry, and Kay and Dave. Wow, this has to be a record, doesn't it?
It usually takes half an
It
hour.
does, that's a lot of arm twisting. Well, thank you guys, okay. And I think like Pastor Lori said, the toolkits in the afternoon are also open for other people, and and maybe we'll get some information out on what those toolkit sessions are. If somebody might be interested, you can let Pastor Lori know.
I'll put them out too on the table in the narthex.
So they'll be in the table in the narthex like next week or something, if you want to look at that further. The next one's the Senate Assembly. This is where we have one male, one female, and then we have 2 alternates, and it's on Friday and Saturday, May 15th and 16th.
It's usually done by noon on Saturday, right?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so Dwayne...
I'm sorry to interrupt, they're electing the bishop, so that's always an interesting kind of a process that's out of the ordinary, so.
So Dwayne and I volunteer to be the delegates, and so then we just need 2 alternates.
I'll do an alternate.
So Sharon will do an alternate, so we need a male alternate. And Justin will be an alternate. Wow.
That's a record.
That is a record.
But I was scheduled to do it last year, when the kid got sick.
Okay, and we don't have to vote on those, right?
We do.
Okay, so now we need to vote on those delegate nominations. Can I get a motion on? Okay, there's a lot of so moved. Did you get that, Diana?
No.
It's Sharon or somebody. Okay, and can I get a second?
I'll second.
Sharon, okay. Any discussion on the volunteers?
No.
Sharon and Sharon. So any discussion questions? Okay, not seeing any. I'll call for a vote. All in favor of the delegate nominations, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, so delegate nominations approved. Okay, with that, we are going to move on to the pastor's report. And I'm not sure who's going first. Amy, why don't you go first?
Okay. My report on page 20, so I won't read it to you, I'll let you look at it. I continue to be grateful for this ministry that you all have found important for us, that we shared with Cardigan Ridge and the shores of Lake Salem. These communities, we continue to have people say they want to be members here because they want to be part of a church. And Ed, thank you for being here. Ed is from the shores of Lake Salem, and he's a retired pastor from Pennsylvania, and they retired in Washington by a daughter, and he moved here after his wife and daughter had died to be by his son. Being part of a church matters, and being part of a church matters to a lot of these folks who can't get out of the community anymore. So they love knowing that I can see them if they go to the hospital because they don't have another pastor. So thank you for seeing and recognizing and seeing the body of Christ is bigger than just us here, but our community. It's really important that we're online. And I'm not on Facebook a lot, but I know it matters. And I want to thank Emily for continuing to be our Facebook online presence. It's really important for this congregation to show up because people do search their neighborhood for churches. And they need to see that we're out there. So thank you for keeping up with pictures and notifications and all that you do. It's really important to us. And I don't know how much of us here see that, but the community does. So I haven't even asked about numbers and how many are viewing it lately, but even one view matters. So it's important to be updated. So thank you, Emily. And Carol, thanks for the website. Carol is the one who keeps up the calendar that many of you probably look at the most on the website. But our website matters too, and when people are looking for a church, they need to see that we're paying attention to dates, and that they need to be able to see a worship service, and they can click and they can hear it, and they can see it. They can see our education, and we've had shut-ins in the past who watched it every single week. I'm not sure we do now, but people watch it. So an updated website that's not 2 years outdated, I mean, monthly and weekly updated, it matters. So thank you, Carol.
I'd like to move the sense of the meeting, wants to provide in the minutes, a commendation and thanks to Carol.
Thanks to Carol for all her working.
Especially for the website especially for the website and also the stuff in the narthex.
So include in the minutes a commendation to Carol for her website and all that she does to keep us current.
Good enough.
And the narthex, Carol does the narthex, but those boards in the narthex are done by a lot of people. You mean the screen in the narthex?
Screen, yeah.
Okay, thank you, yes, yes.
Yeah, that's a motion, so it needs a second and that kind of stuff.
Well, we'll just note it in the minutes, because we're in the middle of a pastor report.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's writing in a minute. Thank you, Peter. Yes. Every one of our boards works hard, and I can't thank each person enough for all that it means to be the body of Christ together, what matters. So thank you for everyone for showing up and continuing to be who we are. This is a gift of a community, and people show up for each other. I'm planning the service for Richard Agnew this Tuesday. He was a shut-in. I don't know if he came to worship service with the Blumster family when he was their foster child years and years ago. Since then, he's been in a group home. He suffered a heat stroke. He became a ward of the state, and this congregation is his church. And he and one of the gals from his group home would make soup for Lenten meals. I don't know how many years they did it. Was it a wild rice soup? Chicken wild rice?
They changed it.
Oh, they changed it, okay. But Rachel told me that many times in the fall, he would say, now when are we making soup? And he wanted to make sure that they were able to come and make soup. You mattered to him, and he was an important part of this church, even though he couldn't be here. And what a gift to be part of the body of Christ when we don't see each other, but we know each other are there and keep in touch. He loved your plate of cookies the United Sisters would deliver at Christmas. And I cannot tell you how many shut-ins I visited this year who said they love those plates of cookies. So it seems like such a little thing, but every time we reach out, it matters. So thank you for all those special ways that you do that. What else? I don't know what else there is. It's a gift to be part of such a special congregation, and as we continue to move forward, our conversations will continue. Thank you, Amy, and I'm going to pass on to Pastor Lori for her report.
Thank you. My report didn't seem all that long until it was spaced this way. It was more like a manifesto. So, I'm not going to spend a lot of time, going through it, other than a couple of highlights, and then if you have questions after that, I'll entrust it to you. First of all, I want to thank the staff. You have just a great group of gifted women working in this congregation and have made it really easy to come on board. And I know that Troy, you do a great job as well, but, Amy and Carol and Emily and Chelsea, what a great, wonderful group of women to work with. We love this church and just moving the kingdom of God forward is just a blessing, and I know you know that. And so, go ahead. All of a sudden, it dawned on me 9 years ago that we have only been two times in 55 years. Think about that. And so, that's highly unusual. And so just taking that leap of faith, 2 times in 55 years is significant. And so, I invite you to embrace that and give thanks for those years of ministry, 30 and 25 and 30, and to know that while change is imminent and always happening, these were huge changes for Cross Lutheran Church. And so, I commend you for just embracing that and living that and having the courage in all kinds of ways to move forward. It's awesome, and I'm grateful for your willingness to do that. I know I included names in my report. That's dangerous to do that. Those were ministries that I've been particularly involved in. But if I would ask you today to all stand who are involved in one way of the ministry across, you would all be standing, right? So give yourselves a hand for the work that you do here. It's awesome. I just, the challenge, and we touched on this a little bit, is that we know the body of Christ is not just in these four walls. And so I think Cross is another great example of, looking out, looking here, and, knowing that it's always a challenge as numbers, grow less, how to carry that ministry forward. And I think Cross does an exceptional job of that as well. What can you do in the meantime? The interim, the transition, is continue to embrace that, to know that it's not just waiting for another pastor to show up. I know you know that. It's doing the ministry of the church in the meantime. That's going to happen, yes. When, I don't have the answer to that, but I know we're moving forward in all kinds of ways. Stay connected. Worship. Volunteer. And lastly, I would say, pray. Just pray. I pray daily for Cross Lutheran Church, and I hope you do that too, because every time you pray, the Spirit moves. There's just that freedom and that power that's released. So continue to pray for the ministry of Cross, for the call process, and just for that pastor out there who I know's heart is already being prepared to show up at Cross Lutheran Church. I've seen it happen again and again. So, pray. Questions? Yeah.
I just want to thank you for when you did to help my kids get over the loss of their father.
Oh,
You
yeah.
had just started here, and it was kind of confusing what to do and who to go to, but
You're welcome. Yeah. Any other questions? Good news is good news, I guess?
Thank you for your work.
Yeah. Oh, it's, it's all unique and exciting and energizing all day.
I would, Sherry, that's kind of what I was gonna say, is a special thank you to Pastor Lori for, helping us through this interim and transition period, and I think she's done there, for us, as far as education and worship and just, personal connection, and, thank you for your leadership, for leading us through all of this unknown as well. I think we're blessed to have you here, and, I think we made the right decision once again, right? So, thank you. Okay, so I'm just gonna give an update on the Met. I know we're kind of ready to close out this meeting, but, yeah.
Can we just give thanks to the executive board and your time as well? I think,
Oh, sure. It's a lot of people. It's not just me. There's a lot of moving parts that just keep on moving, and so we're blessed with a lot of talented people sharing their gifts. So with the Met, we've met twice. So if you remember, the Met is the Mission Exploration Team. This is a team put together to kind of move forward with the pieces required by the Synod for the call process. And I think I'm not going to go over all the phases because I've done all that. But we are still in the information gathering phase, meaning that we've met twice. We have pulled a lot of data together on statistics of our neighborhood, of our community, of other churches in the area. There's a lot of data out there. And so what we're planning to do next, and you'll see this in the cross currents, is what we're going to call an opportunity for you to provide input to our future, kind of where we need to go. And this is all to put together a document for a new pastor, someone that, that they get when they're interviewing, to know where we're going, as a church. And so we need that input because we don't necessarily know that, and we can go a lot of different directions, and, you know, we have a strong partnership with John Glenn, and that's gonna continue, but there's other opportunities as well. So, what we're gonna do is, we're calling them cafe meetings, and they will, the first one will be in 2 weeks during adult education on February 9th. And basically, we're just gonna have, you know, like 4 different questions, and you're gonna, you know, be timed and move from table to table and just provide input on 4 different questions. And this input will go back to the board for consideration into our plan. And so, you know, and anything goes. They're gonna be, you know, hopefully a little, you know, thought-provoking questions on, you know, what should we be doing about this. So there's information cross currents. We'll be doing that February 9th and February 11th, so we're gonna do an evening up at church as well, too. So look for that. Hopefully you can all plan to attend one of those events, and give us, you know, input. We really want to hear from you guys, and help kind of setting our direction. So, are there any questions or anything on the call process? Yes?
In regard to the cafe meeting, some of us aren't able to attend because we're either teaching Sunday school or have other commitments. Is it possible for those questions
Absolutely.
to be
So that will
available
be,
so that people who aren't able to be there can still give their input?
so we also want to ensure that we get, input from, you know, people that can't attend and people that are shut-ins and maybe don't come to church on a regular basis. And so there is, in the article in the Cross Currents, it says if you're not able to attend, you can call the church after those cafe meetings, and those questions will be provided to you so that you can provide input as well. Good question, thank you. Other questions? Nothing on the call process? We are moving. We're trying to zip through this with a goal, so. Okay. Well, with that, I'm going to turn it over to, yes?
That was questions regarding the call process. I just have a couple of things in the other category.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. One, I just would like to apologize if there are people who think that I'm trying to attack reasons that things happen in the church. This is where we get to say, well, why was that done and who decided that? And this is how we get information for those of us who can no longer serve on boards because of our life. So that's the first thing. The second thing is when, I forget the person who was visiting, came in, he talked about...
Justin?
Maybe, yeah, Justin, about Hope Lutheran has a very small church community and the possibility of them joining with us. I don't know if that's suggestion has been...
No, nobody's moving on that stuff, and I think that's the stuff that's going to come out in these cafe meetings. Is, you know, maybe opportunities to, you know, who knows, partner with other churches on specific things. I mean, anything goes. It really is a way to get ideas from maybe some opportunities for the future in addressing stuff. But no, nobody's out trying to partnership. We're not at a point like that, but...
No, I'm just asking
Right,
if that's something
absolutely.
that's, like, on the calendar, so that's good to know.
Yeah. And I think any new pastor will help lead us through that stuff. That would be, you know, right now we're just trying to say, who are we, where are we going, what's important, and then the new pastor will hopefully take us forward once we know what we want to do.
Got it. The other thing is, when someone dies in our congregation, we know that they are no longer a member of our congregation. But in conversations with someone recently, I found out there were people who are no longer members of our congregation because they've chosen, you know, I don't remember what the process is called, but they're still alive. They're in our community. It's not that they've moved physically necessarily, but how are, you know, and I also don't always get completely through my cross currents, but is there a place where that is known or shown or shared?
No. No, so those are discussions at the Board of Lay Ministry. They talk about, with the pastor.
Thank you. And Dave just,
Oh, is that who's gone?
Yeah.
Oh, it does.
Where?
Yes, it's in the last page of your, courier report. But I mean, when those come up, I mean, people are always given an opportunity, they're sent a letter and given an opportunity to respond as well, to stay, we don't just kick people out, but there's some protocol with that the board discusses monthly when the roles come up.
And people have changed churches.
Yeah, and a lot of people change churches or, depending on where they live or whatever, but yeah, I guess it's on the last page. I really haven't read the report yet.
So if I don't see someone on this list, but I'm like, for example, the Ambrose family, is it just because they haven't asked to be removed from our roll?
Correct. Probably.
Okay.
Yes. And eventually, if we don't see them gone, they'll probably get a letter saying, are you still a member here, or, have you found another church or something, and an opportunity to respond. I do want to thank you for your comments earlier, too. I mean, I think, that's one thing that we do well in the conversation is to talk about difficult things and decisions, and, we don't have all the answers. We try and make the best decisions within our boards that we can, and try and move forward and revisit. And so, yes, I really would love people to kind of evaluate how these cups go, and does it take away from your, worship experience, or does it not really matter? That's the feedback that the Board of Lay Ministry will be looking at over, in a couple months. So, I didn't see it as attack. I really value when people can bring up differing opinions and we can discuss them, so thank you. Okay, anything else? Okay, I'm going to pass it over to Lori for our final closing prayer.
I just want to add one thing. This is what happens when you write your notes on a little piece of paper. Your structure here is a little different. And normally, I think people are going to staff in the council and the officers. And so I have executive committee here and board chairs. So Dave, thanks for lifting that up. But yes, without your work and the leadership of all the board chairs, a lot of this ministry wouldn't move forward either. So, Nicola, and thank you for...
We are valued every day.
Well, I know, but it's important to lift people up, too. So, I'm grateful. And, so thank you. I think I will say a short prayer, and I'll remember the people who have died this past year, and then invite you to pray the Lord's Prayer with me as we close. You need to stand. I think you can just assume a position and we'll pray. Lord God, you know that we gather together all over the world as congregations as we lift up the work and the ministry that you call us to. And again, thanks for the conversation that was had, and for the good questions, for the good proposals, and again, for people stepping up, to carry across, living into the future at the same time, embracing the past and living this very day. And so we're thankful for it all, and for those who have gone before us, and we'll celebrate with you as that cloud of witness and saints. In heaven, Donna Ryder, Mary Jo Miller, Dorothy Lena, Donna Mae Rusher, Roger Kiefer, Chris Christensen, Leonard Martin, Mike Long, Wallace Johnson, and Bruce Bergman. May we continue to celebrate the ministry and the love they had for you and for this church. And as we pray together that prayer that you taught us, we remember the love you have for us each and every day as we pray together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the Lord.